Welcome everyone back to Weekly Weather Updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the latest from the short range models at the potential of seeing some very heavy rain and potentially a squall line moving throughout Sunday afternoon into the evening. We'll also have a look at the GFS and the GFS ensembles, have a look at the longer forecast as well. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and do remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do run through the latest from the DWD icon, having a look at precipitation first, we've been following the potential of seeing a squall line over the last few days, and that potential is come to fruition within the models. We're sort of 24, 36 hours, about 36 hours away now from the initial weather front arriving across Ireland, so it's pretty certain how it's going to progress, so I do feel comfortable, saying we're definitely going to be seeing a squall line. So you can receive through early hours of Sunday, it does arrive the very heavy rain band across Ireland, and then it really perks up as it heads into Wales, Scotland, northwest England, and southwest England as well. Very intense squall line seen there. It will probably be a lot narrower than that, but there will be a broad area of heavy rain around. It's going to be arriving around Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening for many areas in the west. Now, if you don't know what a squall line is, it is pretty much an area of very heavy rain that only sort of lasts only 15-20 minutes max, has very strong gusty winds as well, and it typically forms along a very active cold front where we've got a very stark transition between warmer air and cooler air, and very typical in spring and autumn as well, as we do have warmer air mixing up from sort of North Africa and Spain, and we also have very cold air like what we have now spilling out of Greenland, and that clash gives it very, very strong contrast, and that's why we see this deep convection taking place within the weather front. So that's why we're going to be potentially seeing some very, very heavy rain, and normally it forms in a long line, so pretty much spans the whole country, and you can see as it progresses eastwards, it does look like it may fracture a little bit, but still very, very heavy rain in the Midlands and the south. Now, luckily, for many areas of England, it does look like the heaviest rain will be arriving around midnight to 6 a.m. So it shouldn't really be affecting rush hour on Monday morning. But by sort of 9 a.m., there still could be some lingering rain around, especially towards East Anglia in the far southeast, like in Kent. There could still be some lingering heavy rain around. However, the heaviest stuff does look like it's going to be falling in the early hours of the morning. So you could be woken up by some very, very large rattles on the windows from heavy rain lashing in. And that is a real possibility with a squall line like this. So yeah, very intense conditions could be seen from this, and luckily it does look like it's going to be overnight. But beyond that, we continue with heavy rain pushing in, and a lot more showers as we go into a westerly theme. Now, if we also have a look at the wind gusts, as along with the very heavy and squally rain, squall lines do bring along very, very strong winds. So if we do run through, you can see there are some quite strong gusts across Scotland at the moment, maybe 40, 50 mile an hour over the peak of the mountains, but generally most areas not too windy, but you can see this very, very strong patch of winds heading all the way from Scotland, all the way through Ireland into the southwest as well. Sort of by Sunday morning, potentially 40, 50 mile an hour winds quite widely, or gusts at least, not sustained winds, but gusts. And you can see still very strong winds moving inland, maybe 40, 50 mile an hour, and the winds drop off very quickly behind. So you can see 30, 40 mile an hour winds along the squall line, and then only 10 or 15 mile per hour winds behind it. And that's very typical of this sort of system, where we do see very, very strong contrasts. And you can see continually being very windy beyond that, potentially through Tuesday and Wednesday. Once again, some very strong winds across northern England and southern Scotland. And again, we'll have to keep an eye on it as we can see some proper autumnal weather come in. So if we do have a look at the arpege, see how it does compare. If we first look at rainfall, you can see heavy rain is slowly spreading in from the west. You can see it arriving, really pepping up across Wales, southwestern areas into northern England as well, spreading eastwards, and by sort of 6 a.m. it is clearing through East Anglia. So if you are a really early riser through Monday morning, so if you're up by 5, 6 a.m, you could still be seeing the back edge of this squall line, especially in northeast England, East Anglia and the southeast, even into parts of London. If we do see the squall line delayed by an hour or two, which is very possible, or it's a real possibility we could be seeing that, then it could start to impact on some people's mornings. But at this stage, it does look like for the majority of people, it is going to be overnight. If we do have a look at the wind gusts, you can see at the moment maybe 30-40 mile an hour across northern Scotland. And then as we head through Saturday afternoon, you see some stronger wind gusts coming in off the North Atlantic, and then potentially some very strong wind gusts along the cold front, initially maybe 50-60 miles per hour in western Scotland, but slowly petering away, and still maybe 30-40, maybe 50 mile an hour gusts, especially towards the shores and over higher ground as that squall line does move through, and then behind it winds are dying out a little bit. So we do have a look at the UK Met Office run. We normally have a look at this at the end of the video, but we'll have a look at it now as we're going through the precipitation. You can see over the coming days, a few showers here or there through Saturday, especially across northern Scotland potentially. And then by Saturday evening, you can see a few more showers around, and the potential there of maybe a few thundery showers potentially taking off in the far southeast ahead of the cold front, but it doesn't look like there's a massive risk, just a few isolated showers. Then you can see the very heavy weather front moving through, very narrow on the UK Met Office run, however very squally. You can see the yellows and reds indicating very heavy rain spreading through, and it does move through, and by 9 a.m. it's just clearing out of London into East Anglia and parts of Kent, so we still could be seeing some very, very heavy rain. So UK Met Office run does delay it by a couple hours compared to the other runs, and that's very interesting to see. Beyond that, just really quite a showery sort of regime and more heavy rain spreading through Tuesday and Wednesday, looking really quite widespread torrential rain heading up from the southwest as autumn really does arrive. If we do have a look at the wind gusts, you can see at the moment nothing too strong, but over northern Scotland, over the tops of the mountains, we could be seeing 50-60 mile an hour gusts. Winds fall reasonably light overnight tonight into tomorrow, and then gradually pick up from the west. And by sort of Sunday early morning, you can see strong winds moving in, a very strong contrast, 30-40 mile an hour wind gusts to single-digit wind gusts right behind that cold front. And again, that contrast between the air masses gives us very heavy rain and very strong winds to almost no rain, and very sort of weak gusts very quickly, and that's very typical of a very active cold front. It does sweep through, and by sort of Monday afternoon, wind speeds do eventually pick up again as we do see more unsettled conditions move in, and the polar maritime air mass take over, seeing a lot of showers and some stronger winds at times. And then we do see potentially for some even stronger winds for Tuesday and Wednesday, as we do have that heavier rain push again, and we'll have to have a look at that probably over the coming days as that comes into the shorter range model forecast, as that equally on Tuesday, Wednesday, looks like we could be seeing some very, very heavy rain, even more widespread, and could be a lot sort of longer in the time it falls. So we could be seeing potentially some flooding disruption with this, whereas the squall line will likely potentially give a few flash floods here or there, and it's most likely just to be really quite unpleasant to be out in. So if we do now go through the GFS, have a look at what the long-term outlook is sort of looking like. You can see over the coming days, high pressure is still holding on to the southeast. However, you can see the low pressure that's going to be our squall line and very heavy rain spreading through. And then while we've got the sort of the mother low over towards Iceland, we see a little daughter low system develop across Ireland, and that's why we're going to be seeing very, very heavy rain and strong winds as we have a developing low pressure system, potentially seeing cyclogenesis in there. Can't say for certain at this stage, but there's the potential we see some very rapid deepening of that, and that could give us some vigorous conditions, but that low eventually clears away and we just stay unsettled really. One theme we are seeing quite a lot is this high pressure towards Scandinavia, which is forcing these low pressures further southwards, and on a bit of a west to east or northwest to southeast track, and even into the longer term, we do still have that high pressure around, but we see an ex-hurricane or ex-tropical system combining with a jet stream, and then we see a real battleground going on with very strong low pressure out in the Atlantic towards Greenland and Iceland, and a very strong Scandinavian high building out, potentially trying to bring easterly winds in, and that's a very interesting thing. And as I said in previous videos, very, very good sign for winter, because you can see at the moment we've got some very bitterly cold air just out in sort of Scandinavia, into Eastern Europe, and into Russia. And you give it a couple months, this air is going to be even colder, and if we do get this Scandinavian high really going, then the possibility of pulling in easterly winds, and that's where we could see a beast from the east type pattern, or just generally chilly easterly winds giving very cold conditions, and meaning anything falling out the sky could be snow. But as a thing, for a good sort of 4 to 6 weeks time, we'll have a little bit better look at that as the air does slowly cool down as we head through autumn. So we do finally have a look at the GFS ensembles, again, to give us an idea of what we could be seeing over the next 2 weeks. You can see warm upper temperatures at the moment, and it's been generally pretty pleasant for many areas. Still could see temperatures around 20, 21, maybe 22 degrees, especially across England, Wales, and parts of Southern Ireland. However, you can see that really strong drop-off in upper air temperatures from around 10 degrees at 850 HPA to around 1 or 2 degrees at 850 HPA in a matter of about 6 hours as that very vigorous cold front moves through. Now, the ensembles aren't forecasting very, very heavy rain for London. Now, again, these are low-resolution ensemble members, so they do struggle with specific sort of rainfall amounts and intensity. That's why they're not showing too much, as again the school line is very convection based along that cold front, and these low resolution ensembles don't sort of compute it as well as the high resolution models we look at, or we looked at the start of the video. So that's why precipitation spikes aren't quite as high, but generally in the longer term there's still a lot of precipitation spikes symbolic of westerly winds, generally westerly winds, let's just say, unsettled conditions. But you can see it's nowhere near as many precipitation spikes as we have sort of around 30th to the sort of 4th of October as we do. We have so many more there than we do around 6th to the 10th of October. And that's when on the operational run we're starting to see that easterly wind potentially try and push in. And that's something we do need to keep an eye on, as again, it's an encouraging sign for winter, but it could bring us some more settled conditions. And the easterly wind this time of year isn't particularly cold, as we don't have those bitterly cold upper air temperatures. But one thing that is good that a lot of people in autumn will generally enjoy is drier weather and wind coming in from the east, which brings in drier air and generally, of course, drier weather. But generally, the upper air temperatures do look around maybe to above average in the longer term. But again, it's a little bit up in the air, as we can't really say anything too much beyond around 7 days with any certainty. So if we do have a look at Glasgow to give us an idea of what we could be seeing in the north, you can see, if we go to the 6 hours, the 12 hours hasn't quite come out yet. You can see still warm upper air temperatures at the moment. However, by Sunday, you can see very, very heavy rain coming in. For Scotland, it does look like we're going to be seeing bigger, massive rain, more widespread rain, whereas in the south, it's mainly the school line moving through. Scotland will still probably see some school line potentially in places, but it is generally going to be a big, massive rain coming in off the Atlantic with that cold front moving through, and generally in the longer term, it looks really quite unsettled. You can see one ensemble member going all the way off the charts to above 40 millimeters, probably getting up towards 50 millimeters of rain, which is truly exceptional. An absolute deluge there. And you can see generally temperatures are going to be around average, maybe hovering up above or below at times. It's quite typical of a southwesterly or westerly flow, and it generally does look very, very autumnal for Scotland. Unfortunately, does look like the dry weather we've had over the last few weeks is going to be gone, swiftly gone, with this cold front moving through Saturday and Sunday, and unfortunately, a lot of unsettled and probably cooler than average conditions coming through, because even though the upper air temperatures are warm at times with more cloud and rain and showers around, it is not going to be feeling particularly warm, or as warm as the upper air temperatures would suggest. So do go make sure you go out and enjoy the warm weather we may have tomorrow, especially in the east and the south, as it is sort of disappearing by Sunday and early next week. And at this stage, looking at these ensembles, I don't really know when we're going to be seeing anything too sustained in the next few weeks. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.